Board. I'm Peter McCarthy, Chair of the Board. Calling the meeting to order. Typically, our meetings last about an hour for public session. We may be quicker than that tonight. And we will have time for citizen input, if any citizens have comments when we finish our board business. After that, we'll typically go into executive session to discuss cases. So, approval of July meeting minutes. Everybody got an email with the meeting minutes?
Yes.
We have a motion to approve. Ruth, motions to approve. Cliff, second. Any discussion of the minutes? All in favor of approving them?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimously approved. Okay, I'd like to discuss, I think you have in your folder, the duties and responsibilities draft. I'd like to take a few minutes. We talked about this just briefly last time. I think a couple people weren't here. This is something that I put together based on conversations with several people on the board. I made, and I want it to be clear that this is a proposal. This is not a summary of our current policies. This is proposed to be a clear description so that when someone comes on the board, they have a very clear idea of what's expected. So in some cases, this is intended to be higher expectations than we have now. For instance, the attendance policy, which has been a problem a couple of times. The old wording of the attendance policy said you had to miss 3 meetings in a row in order to remove from the board. The proposed wording here says if you miss 3 meetings in any 12-month period, and I want to be clear, I'm open to any discussion about this. I intentionally said a 12-month period rather than a calendar year because if you missed, for example, November and December, and then you also missed March, by this wording, your time's up. If you said per calendar year, you'd start over. So, again, I'm open to any discussion of any of these, but the last comment about the attendance, we've had a couple of instances where we did decide to remove board members, and by the way to remove somebody from the board is for us to request the Common Council to remove them. We don't directly vote anybody off, but we can pass a resolution asking for removal, and that's what so I'm not suggesting we change any of that policy. That's not up to us. That's in the law, that the council has the right. So what I'm suggesting is that, for instance, for attendance, it would be 3 meetings in any 12-month period. Dan, you have a question?
I do. I'm curious to know what the impetus was to make this change in the rules.
Yeah. Both of the previous times when we had board members who had an attendance issue, there was one board member who probably, I'm guessing, probably missed more than half the meetings over a year, but it was miss 2, show up for 1, miss another 1, show up for 1, miss 2, and he never missed 3 in a row.
Okay.
So that's one example. The other one was a little different, but my intention is that we should do it. And again, this would, action taken as a result of someone not doing any of these would have to be a board decision. It doesn't say you're off. It says the board gets to decide. So somebody brought up last time, what if somebody has a valid excuse? The complication I see with this, and I don't have a simple answer to it, is that we'd have to start keeping track if someone wasn't here. We'd have to start keeping track of what their reasons were in some way, so that if Dan has missed 3 meetings in a year, and somebody says, well, what about within 12 months, okay? And somebody says, well, what about Dan? Did he have an excuse? Well, If he didn't communicate but didn't show up, I would say that would lead the board to say, you're out of here. No excuse, no communication. If, if you had 3 cousins' funerals to go through over the course of a year, how many cousins do you have and how old are they? Yeah. I mean, that could be real. The board in those cases would have to make judgments to ask for someone to be removed. And in both of the cases that I'm thinking about, it's pretty clear to me that we would have been better off with this rule in effect. And whether or not someone has a good excuse was probably not the issue. So, again, I'm not tied to any of this wording, but let's stay on that attendance one for a minute. Other thoughts about how that would play out?
Well, in general, I think
Sorry?
In general, I think it would go well. I'm thinking I may have missed more than 3 when I had my accident and was in the hospital.
You did.
I did.
You did.
Well, it's nice having you here, Ruth, but
So,
But I don't, there wouldn't have been anything I could have done about that.
Exactly.
Wouldn't that be considered a legitimate excuse? I mean, she was in the hospital. She was in an accident. She was in the
Didn't you
hospital.
call in one of those times too?
Yes, she did a phone.
Yeah.
I think
had
it's
somebody.
proper that
Oh, Colin, that's right.
the policy here would be for the absentee to justify his absence rather than the board have to go chasing him around to find out why he's gone. I mean, we're operating on a dedication process here. We're dedicated to this. I don't know about you, but I didn't get a paycheck last month, but
I don't think so.
so the bottom line is, if this is of interest to you and you want to stay here, then it's up to you to fulfill your obligations, and attending the meeting is one of the obligations. And if you can't attend the meeting legitimately, then you ought to be able to have the wherewithal to send an email or something and say,
Right, and I think, again, for the attendance issue, the one complication of this, right now, we're not keeping track. We take attendance, but we're not keeping track of why someone's not here and whether they've notified us. That would have to change, because if the board, gets sick of Dan not showing up, I'm sorry I'm picking you, but you're asking a
that's
question.
fine.
If the board wants to
Used to
deal
it.
with that, then they would have to have some kind of record. Well, how many times was he not here, and did he send an email, and does that make sense to us?
Well, we have the record because Dana puts it in each of the minutes.
But that's only of whether they were here or not.
Right.
That does not account for whether they seem to have a valid excuse. And that would be a judgment call on the board's part.
I was going to say, seeing that this is a volunteer position, I don't think the board have the right to decide what is valid and what's not valid reason to not be here.
Then how might we decide that? I mean, does that say we can't have an attendance policy? I
We
don't know.
should, but I think 3 a year is...
You think what?
I think 3 a year is a bit much to have a conversation about removal.
I mean, it's
You think 3 a year is a bit much? And
absences.
I think that's
You think it's too strong?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
you think
I think
3
3
and 12 months is too strict?
Yep.
Okay. What do you think would be reasonable?
6 out of 12.
Wow.
Ooh. That's,
You're not dedicated to doing it if you miss that much time. But 3, I mean, I don't want to throw a missing board member under the bus, but there's a missing board member who missed quite a lot.
I agree with you there.
well,
I think that every person who volunteered for the Citizen Review Board knows what that obligation is, and if that person, be it whoever it is, there's no disrespect to anybody on the board here. Whoever that person is should understand that obligation to come and do the duties that they are
That they swore to
volunteer.
do.
Right.
I think you could also probably take into account their body of work. Perhaps Thursdays at 5:30 is a bad time for somebody, but they're at every single meeting. They do lots of hearings. I think it has to be a bigger picture, maybe.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I think that would be.
Absolutely.
Dan and then Cynthia?
I don't care.
Cynthia, go ahead.
And I was gonna say, based on that, attending hearings in the time they get off work, I think obviously that would be justifiable as to why the person has missed whatever that they missed. There's many apples and oranges to weigh in on why a person has missed 3 or 4 or 5 meetings. So to put something in stone at this point, Peter, I don't think that we would come to an agreement on it. But the person theirself, whether it be the council or whether it be you as the president or Raynette as the administrator, meet with that person and then take it from there.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
Maybe missing 3 or something, or missing, without any excuse whatsoever, missing that many warrants a meeting as to
What's going on?
Correct.
And why don't we just make an easy rule that if you're going to miss a meeting, you call and report that. In a sense, you get an excuse.
But you know what, Ms. Ruth, in all honesty, that's like, I mean, I don't know if you retired or not, but that's like no show, no call. Try doing that at a 9 to 5 and see where it gets you. It's just common courtesy, I think, with lack of better words. If you're not going to make it, for example, Lori's not here tonight, so she obviously got in touch with Peter or Raynette or somebody, you know, to say that she won't be here tonight. We don't necessarily, as us, need to know the reason why, but she did do the common courtesy of calling to say, I won't be making a meeting tonight. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's all we looking for.
That's what I'm suggesting, that you,
And I think that,
and you could even email. You know,
aren't we doing that?
What?
Isn't the board doing that now? The board member letting you guys know when they're not going to attend a meeting?
Not always.
Sometimes we've been advised by other board members that people aren't going to attend a meeting, and I believe it's more important that the administrator be notified, because I'm spending paper printing out stuff, and if you know you're not going to be here, you know, so I think that it's important that we clarify who should be notified that you're not going to be there, or if you're going to be late, who you should notify that you're going to be running late, because we know when our meetings are.
So maybe we, rather than it be 3 meetings missed, 3 meetings without any notification to the administrator before a certain time is grounds for a discussion or something a little more.
I also want to make sure that we put in the fact about hearings as well, because I try to rotate the hearing schedule, and, you know, divvy it up so that everybody gets an opportunity, and we're not continuing to utilize you know what I mean, the same people all the time. And we have some people who aren't ever available for hearings, or they provide certain times, and then when you call them, they're not available at that time either. And so we need to be, so not only, you know, if you're saying, in my opinion, if you're saying that missing 3 consecutive meetings is too much, or missing 3 in a year, but then what if you come to every meeting but you're never available for a hearing, which means that we don't have the option to rotate that person into a hearing fold. That's an issue as well.
Correct.
So I think you have to put into account all of those parts, not just one.
I have a question. As far as hearings go, being a new kid on the block, I haven't been assigned to attend a hearing, but how much time do you let a person know that?
So based upon your hearing availability that you provide to us, I'm expecting that you've blocked out that period of time for which you could be available for a hearing. And so as soon as we vote on a hearing, I'm calling that person the next day to schedule it. And if, you know, I'm not trying to schedule hearings like the next week, I try to at least give a person the next week. So if, you know, our meeting is on Thursday, I try to work with it, you know, depending on how early in the month, you know. So if I'm calling tomorrow for a person to be scheduled for a hearing, I'm scheduling it sometime next week. And I typically try to pick so it's not like the Monday of next week. It's like the Wednesday or the Thursday, so you still have time to review. I mean, although we would have reviewed it during the executive session, you know what the facts and the circumstances are with regard to the case, I still want to give you more time to review it some more before you get ready to come to a hearing. So you at least have a minimum of like 3 days notice.
Okay. That's what I want to know, the minimum.
So, yeah, and the first 4 or 5 of these are all about showing up for various things. The regular CRB meetings, hearings, community events, and so forth. And that's, some of the things that people are bringing up are, there are people here that work full-time, there are people here that work part-time, but don't have complete control of their schedules. And, you know, my intention in presenting this draft is you should be able to consent to work on the CRB if you're able to work it around your schedule. This is supposed to make it clear what the expectations are. And what the numbers we settle on, whether it's 3 meetings or whatever. I think that all of these are expected of CRB members. All of these things. How many and, you know, how rigid we want to be about it, I think is absolutely open to discussion. That's why I brought it up in July with the idea that this would take effect in, whatever we approve would take effect in January, when people are starting new terms, when we may get new members, so that people know before they start what the expectations are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not tied to the 3-meeting thing, and I certainly don't think that missing 3 meetings would mean we automatically ask the council to throw you off. I think that that's a drastic step. I've only seen us do it twice. Well, 3 times. Once was for attendance, and the other time was for being an impossible jerk,
Behavior.
which
But it
is
was
not
for more
written
than
down
that.
here.
But it was for more than just that, though, too. They weren't attending hearings either. So it was for a combination of things.
Yeah.
It was meeting attendance, it was decorum, it was also their inability to attend hearings. So that was a whole
Right.
another gamut, and also community outreach events. It was a whole bunch of stuff that was going on with regard to that particular matter. And I want to point out the community outreach as well. I mean, being available for community outreach, making sure that you're available for at least a minimum of an hour or something like, those are things as well that are a concern. And so, again, all these things I go over verbally before you even start. I use the term all the time that the CRB cannot fit into your schedule. It has to fit your schedule, meaning that you need to consider what the obligations are with regard to the CRB before you decide to tell your common counselor that you are available for the CRB. So these things that we're discussing are things that were discussed previously, so you are aware, to make sure that you understand the time commitment. I do realize things, sometimes jobs change and things of that nature occur, and the communication factor is the key.
Let me ask it this way. I think that the last sentence here above the meeting ground, it says failure to attend 3 or more CRB meetings within a 12-month period will be grounds for removal. Without that, ignore that sentence for a moment. Pretend it's not there. So what we have is a list of 7 things that you're expected to do. You're expected to attend all the regular meetings, to be available for at least 1 hearing a month and so forth. Without saying, if you don't do this, you're off. If this is just a list of expectations, how does it sound?
Much better.
Yeah, let's ignore the threat to throw you off.
Much better.
But do these expectations sound reasonable, that this is what we would want from everybody?
Yes.
Or are they too high? If we're recruiting somebody, is this going to scare people away?
They definitely
Is this
not too
what we
high.
need?
No.
No, I think that's,
No,
I think it's fine.
you're not
Okay.
talking to a 5-year-old.
and what we do with leases is we give a list of rules and we say repeated material noncompliance or egregious violations of this. So we could have some sort of wording like that.
Yeah, so the first sentence down there says, "A pattern of
There you go,
failure
yeah.
to adhere to the above agreements will be grounds for removal." And then I put failure to attend 3 or more meetings. And again, that was with a couple of specific instances in mind. However, in both of those, we, as Renette just pointed out for one of them, there were other things besides missing meetings.
Correct.
So if I just cross off that sentence, failure to attend 3 or 4 more meetings, we've got that. If somebody is, I mean, it's kind of already covered in there. What we have to look at is there was a board decision, I understand, Hatisha, maybe you know, I couldn't find it in the bylaws where it says 3 meetings in a row. I
It's
don't
in
think-
there.
Sorry?
3 consecutive meetings, it's in the binder.
Say again?
3 consecutive.
Right, 3 that's what I remember hearing from, I think,
in the
Diane,
binder.
It's in the
that it was a
bylaws.
board
It's in the
decision,
bylaws.
that's what it took.
It's in the bylaws.
You know, without going back through all the minutes, look, let's accept that. That's board policy because it was a decision. If we accept this language, and I'm not going to move we accept it tonight. I want us to be able to think about it and see if there are other specifics that we need to add or take away. But if we accept that these general descriptions are okay, then if someone has missed, let me put it this way, we wouldn't be limited like we were in the past by saying, well, he's missed 2 and 2 and 2 and 2, but he never missed 3 in a row. There's other stuff here that we could go by and say we need to remove this person because they're not living up to the expectations as a whole.
So perhaps the specificity is the problem. Perhaps we don't want to be too specific.
Yeah, I think that you can get yourself in trouble
Right.
if you're too specific.
But I do agree with Dan. I think you need something about behavior. For example, John. I mean, it should have been not so hard.
Right.
So the ground
I don't know
rules.
how else to put it.
No, I mean, I know how to put it. We discussed that matter. And so now we need to move on with regard to that particular topic. We've discussed the things without pointing out any particular names of anything. And so we need to continue to do that and move expeditiously on to the next point.
And
So-
the next point is we're gonna look at this, keep it in mind, and come to a conclusion before the first of the year. Next.
Okay, I will send this out with the one change, and maybe I'll put it on the agenda to vote on it next time.
Dan got his hand up.
Dan?
Regarding the issue of justification, you can't have a bunch of expectations without a justification for the violation of those justifications. In other words, I can say, you know, you can't wear shorts to the meeting. Well, I'm wearing shorts to the meeting tonight, but am I in violation of the rules and regulations? If I am, what are the consequences? So,
The
if you're gonna...
consequences say a pattern of failure to adhere to the above agreements will be grounds for removal. So if you continually wear shorts all the time, and that was in here, and you don't show up...
Promise I won't wear them in January.
And you fail to raise your hand and be recognized over and over, yeah,
But we also
you'd be in
just,
violation.
we also just spent almost 30 minutes talking about the justification of these, the reason why we have these. We spent over 30 minutes now talking about the justification as to why we've been talking about the bylaws. Those have already been discussed. That's what we were sitting here doing, was justifying the reason why we were discussing the bylaws and discussing the attendance requirements and things of that nature. That's what we were just doing, lining out all the justifications for the rules.
Well, just to finish up, in terms of various items on the list here, they all can't be the same justification, they all can't be the same consequences. So, and since we spent most of our time talking about attendance, there are only a few reasons why you couldn't attend a meeting. It's not like there's a panoply of reasons, and
again, I agree with what Dana said. If you get too specific, you're in trouble. I don't want to make a list of valid
if you do get too specific, but by the same token, there is a limit to it. I mean, if the Red Sox are in the series, you can miss the meeting. So,
Okay, we'll put it on the agenda for next time, and I'm going to limit discussion for it next time, because we have spent almost a half hour on it today, and I'll limit discussion. So if people want to send me comments in writing, then
I'll
please
send you a
do, and I'll
comment.
bring them up at the next meeting and make sure you have time to bring them up. Okay, administrators report.
So when we look at the activity report that is in your folder, you'll notice that as of, for the month of July, we only received 2 cases. Those 2 cases came from the Office of Professional Standards over to the CRB. We will be reviewing,
were they sent in a timely fashion?
yes, they were.
Okay.
We will be reviewing. We'll be reviewing 5 cases in executive session tonight. I'll draw your attention to the budget portion, which is in green. I've provided you with the ending numbers for the 2018-2019 budget year, as well as the new budget cycle for the 2019-2020 year. You'll see in there. I will make mention that the first page discusses the amount of money that we've paid the private investigator, the 2 different people, the one firm and the other firm that we have utilized, so you can see those amounts that we've spent with regard to the private investigator, and also what in terms of legal representation. The next sheet you'll look at will show you all the operating supplies that we've done, and as you can see, Good Life was only paid 1 check. They have to break it out by the number of T-shirts and stuff that you purchased, so that's why it's so many ones, where it's so broken down into $36, $18, and things of that nature. So you'll go ahead and see that on there, but they did just receive 1.
What is Lamar?
Lamar Advertising is our bus ads.
Right.
So that's the amount of money that we spent on the bus ads that we all agreed to. The Central New York Foundation, that was with regard to World Refugee Day, in which many individuals went, and that's what's Central New York Foundation. They were the kind of parent company to collect the money, so the check went payable to them. You'll see the travel and training expenses that had to do with the NACO conference last year and the Use of Force Summit last year, and also Interfaith Works Duck Race, which we did, is on there for that amount. The next, I have a sheet, not sure if I put that in there, had to do with the office supplies and things of that nature. And then you go to the breakdown of the expenditures, the expenses that were paid out. You'll see that list, and then you'll break down and see what we have available coming the 2019-2020 budget year, where you can see we haven't spent much other than for the Westcott Cultural Festival. We've already sent a check for that fee. Southside Community Coalition, that is for the Sankofa Festival that's coming up. And we spent money on the NACO registration fees and hotel, which is our annual conference that we go to.
Renee,
Yes.
Dan has his hand up.
Yes.
If we don't spend all the money that we're allotted on a given year, do we get to keep it for the following year?
Absolutely not. So that's why we try to use as much as we,
Obviously, yes.
as much as is necessary, so that we aren't leaving money on the table. But we utilize them for the reasons why we need to utilize them. That's why it was very important for us to hire a private investigator, since we continue to have those funds available and we're not utilizing them. On the private investigator note, I met with another private investigator that we should consider, and we'll be talking with we'll call you in on another meeting and things of that nature to meet with that next private investigator as soon as I get some more information. But I think that it will be important. As you can see, For that budget line, we have an expenditure, we have 13,000 and something dollars for, that covers our legal services, that covers our private investigator and our medical examiner, so we want to make sure that we utilize them, but we also want to make sure we utilize investigators that are going to give us.
Is this a matter of just spending the money because we have it, or
No.
have we had a plethora of conflicts?
We haven't had a plethora of conflicts. We're talking just about the quality of the work of the private investigators and things of that nature, that we just want to make sure that we're just not spending money to spend it.
Okay.
If the quality of the work isn't where we want it to be.
All right.
If it would be
That's
easier
better.
for me to investigate that complaint than what it's costing us in the private investigator fee, then I think we need to look at the quality of work and possibly
I
hiring
think you're
someone
right.
else. So, that's that. I'll mention the NACO conference that we just talked about. It's in Detroit, Michigan. It's September the 22nd through the 26th. I think we've already had a motion because we've been discussing it for a very long period of time. But just in case, the NACO conference is a national conference, because I know we do have some new faces. The NACO conference is a conference that is with all organizations that do civilian oversight throughout the country. I mean, we've had somebody as far as Australia. We've had somebody as far as Puerto Rico to come, and we all come together, and it's they change the site every year, and so you go to different places. And so this year it's in Detroit, Michigan. So I'll be flying out there, and so the next time that you see expenses, probably sometime at the end of in October, we'll show the expense for the flight, because they won't let me drive my car to Detroit. So we'll have to spend money for the flight. So just in case we didn't have I don't think we needed to have a motion. I mean, it's a yearly thing. But then we have the Use of Force Summit. The Use of Force Summit that I attend every year so far, I attended last year and this year, is a meeting that is with mostly police officers, sheriffs, troopers, and they all learn more about the best practices with regard to use of force, and that's how I get my experience when I'm reviewing cases that involve use of force. That is in Connecticut every year. I drive a city car. That is December the 3rd through the 5th, and that's how we cut down on expenses with regard to that. And I'll draw your attention to the Petrie investigations bill, which you'll see is in your folder, and you'll see the amount. So I need a motion to pay that Petrie bill for $197.50 for his work on a most recent case that you'll be reviewing next month.
I move we pay it.
Second it.
Any discussion of the bill? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any extensions?
I just have a question. At some point, I'd like you to talk about how you find these useful.
Oh, so I can tell you how I find them useful. So in terms of I talked about the use of force already, how I find that one useful.
No, I don't mean the conventions.
Oh, what?
The investigators.
So I find the investigators useful because there are a lot of things that the administrator has to do to keep the office running. A lot more than beats the eye. In terms of the number of meetings that we have with regard to government relations, board development, attending common council meetings to see what's going on with regard to the police department, that take me outside of the office. Also community outreach that I do by attending different community events throughout the day that take me out of the office, and which take time away from me being the single investigator in the office. So just like today, I went to a YSAP meeting, which is the Youth Substance Abuse Prevention Network, and they're planning a marijuana summit coming up, and those type of things, being involved in those activities, help promote the CRB. Then when I'm at those events, they ask more about the CRB and things of that nature, and that's how we continue to get the word out there. So I can't spend all my time in the office doing that. I also have to pay the bills. So the bills have to get paid. Yes, we do have people in budget, but I have to submit the bills. I have to provide enough documentation for us to pay the bills. I also have to do research. I do research so that you guys can see the lovely stuff I send you via email, with all the different case law that is coming up, with all the other materials. So it's a lot of reading to do to make sure that even when our private investigators are investigating, I need to be able to have enough knowledge to review their work and figure out whether or not we're still, whether or not we're going to recommend the case to a hearing or not. As you can see, the case summaries that you have received from the private investigators, they submit those, but then I still make my final recommendation as to that, and it's based on that. But they sometimes do the legwork with regard to locating the people that I can't find. We don't have the software with regard to searches in the office, so they do searches looking for people and things of that nature. So they do some legwork that I could do, but then we can't do everything else that we're trying to do. So that is the reason why it was necessary to hire some private investigators that had some experience too, related to that stuff. So that was the point of that.
Do you approve of that, Ms. Ruth?
No, that's fine, yeah.
Okay. In terms of the 2019 second quarter report, which was due yesterday, I'll be sending it out to everyone for review next week, so review it, and as soon as you review it, we'll be able to post it on the website. Mentioning the website is all up to date. Miss Cynthia, I still need your bio with regard to the website. Also, Mattia has been trained with regard to the website, and she has been updating things on the website. So that has now been taken over by our department, so then we don't have to worry about the mayor's department, the mayor's office doing that. So that was another thing. If you look at the lovely Facebook posts that have been posting all over the place, in which you see data and information that we're trying to pass along with regard to what's happening around the country, with regard to the police departments, with regard to oversight, I handle the Facebook page, Mattia handles the website. So that was the reason to kind of split the task and things of that nature.
I saw one of our things on the bus thing.
Great.
I took a picture of it. I was going to send it to everybody, but
All right.
And I have looked for those. I've seen all of the shelter signs. I have not seen all the bus signs because I'm sorry, I don't have time to ride the buses and see which buses they're on. In terms of they're on there? Okay. In terms of the 2017 cases, we had a list that went to the Office of Professional Standards. We also sent a list to the new Police Liaison Committee, in which I advised them which cases they should hurry up and get me the report so we can resolve those matters. I've already sent that to them. With regard to the 2018 cases, they are slowly but expeditiously reviewing those cases. And they are getting us 2018 cases and 2019 cases on a regular basis. Lately, we've been getting a few at a time, which means that we have more work for private investigators as well, and that was another reason why we need to be looking at that.
So I have a question. Are we able to, with the 2018, are we getting them timely enough within our 18 months?
So far, we are. The only ones that I know we are outside of the... unless I would say this, sometimes people file cases in 2018 or 2019 for cases for incidents that occurred in 2017. We're going to be outside of the 18 months with regard to that. But if it's an incident that happened in 2018, then we shouldn't be outside the 18 months by the time that they get there. And so far, I haven't seen ones that are filed in 2018 that happened in 2018 to be outside the 18-month mark. And I've been making sure that we keep track of the 18-month deadline so that we can be looking and, sending a email that says, hey, this one is approaching its 18-month mark, what's going on with it? Things of that nature. And then that should be the end of my report until I get ready to talk about some other things that have happened. Any more questions? Okay.
So are you ready to go to committee reports?
Yes.
Okay, so community outreach.
So as you can see, community outreach events, we have several of them coming up. We have a presentation to the Southside TNT this coming Monday at 5:30. I would love to have a good quorum of people if you can come out and just show your face. We'll be discussing what the CRB is doing. We'll be discussing providing some information about knowing your rights and things of that nature. Yes, that flyer is in your folder with regard to that, but I'd like to let them see the diversity of the board as much as possible. So if you can come out and attend that, that would be great. Unity Day Cookout, we have,
Where is that one gonna be?
it's gonna be at the Southside Innovation Center.
Oh, I was there this
By
weekend.
Duncan Bright?
Yeah, right by Duncan Bright,
Duncan
that's where
Bright.
they hold their meetings at. So, yes,
I'm sorry. Are you talking about this right here?
yes.
Well, what's 309 West Brighton Ave?
Is that what it says?
That's what it says on top of
Doesn't
it.
Brighton Ave come right and dead end into it right there, kind of?
Don't make me start lying. I live on the east side.
Oh, it's gonna be at, actually, it's gonna be at the Danforth Magnet Middle School. You're correct. So I made the mistake. Thank you,
It's on
Cynthia.
West Brighton Ave.
So it's on West Brighton Ave. It's gonna be at Danforth. So it'll be at that auditorium. So I would love to see as many people. Oh, and it's because there's gonna be, a good amount of stuff going on. In terms of Unity
Will
Day,
this be on their, I don't have a copy. Would this be on their website or something?
yes, it's on their website, but it was also sent to you via email. So you should have that as well.
Okay.
Good catch, Cynthia.
Unity Day Cookout coming up on August the 9th will be at Wilson Park from 3 to 6. So I would encourage anybody who's able to come to come. Sankofa Festival, August the 10th, right down there on South Salina Street. We have already paid the fee. We'll have a table to set up. The West Side Initiative Annual Block Party. As I wanted to make a special note that Priscilla has translated our little pocket cards that we have with regard to Know Your Rights. She has translated our flyers for us with regard to, that tells what the CRB does. She did the bus signs in Spanish for us so that when we go to that initiative, we do have some documents in Spanish. She has not translated the brochure as of yet because we're trying to figure out, that's a lot of information. We're trying to figure out what's the best pertinent information to translate into Spanish so that then it can be a wealth of knowledge. And as long as our brochure it's difficult. We were thinking of trying to figure out if we could do a front and back brochure but then as long as our brochure is, it'll be like a book. So we're trying to figure out how we work that in. Also, so I wanted to mention that Priscilla has been doing that even during the times when she wasn't available for meetings. She was translating for us and taking care of those things. And I forgot to mention it last week. The Mary Nelson school supply giveaway is August.
That name somewhere.
Is August the 17th. Those of you who are available to attend, please make sure you attend, and I'll provide any outreach materials necessary. On August 29th, the SPD Community Forum at McChesney Park. We have had a table at all the community forums so far. We will have a table at that one with some information as well, and I'll discuss what happened at the last meeting that was at the Southside Innovation Center.
Where's McChesney Park at?
It's up there on the north side. I want to say it's off of Grant.
I think it's right
I think
by
it's
middle school.
it's right by Grant Middle School.
Yep.
It's a community center up there, really big, nice community center up there. But that's where McChesney Park is. And so, I wanted to mention.
I have one question on my event, August 17th. You said you're gonna pass out literature. Will you have a tent and table and chairs?
We can have whatever you like.
A tent, table, and chairs.
Okay.
You need a tent, or do we have one?
We have
I'll
a
be
tent.
attending all that.
We have a table. I know Lori advised me that she will be able to attend that day. She let me know early enough, and everybody else send me your time slots.
Sign me up for all the events.
What time is it?
It's from 11 to 6.
Mine is from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
10 a.m. to 6? Okay.
Sign me up for all the outreach that you have down here right now, please.
Okay.
I can do the outreach, because I'm off that week from the 7th until the 20th.
Okay.
I could do August 9th, August 10th.
Okay.
Those 2 days. And of course, I'm gonna do August 17th, but those 2 days I can do.
Okay.
And I'll do August the 5th, which is Monday.
And I also want to put on record,
What's August 5th?
Monday.
put on record so everybody know.
Should we just email you?
Monday through Friday, I work 11 a.m. to 7:30.
Will you send us a
Any
list of
community
talking.
events
with their
during the week,
times?
I cannot attend. During
Say
the
it
week,
again.
Any community events during the week, Monday to Friday, my hours at work from 11 a.m. to 7:30 every day. Saturdays, I can't attend,
Okay?
okay?
And
All
I
right.
just like for it to go on record as well. My part-time job has me work 2 days during the week and every Saturday and Sunday. So Saturday and Sunday events, unfortunately, I will not be able to attend. My day off, as of right now, I know for sure is always a Monday, so that's why I will attend Mondays.
Okay.
Okay? I'm not trying to avoid anything and say I don't want to be a part of it, but as of right now, I have another commitment.
All right, and then looking at the, thank you for all of your information with regard to your availability, everyone who has made a comment. With regard to community outreach events, in the list of outreach events that we have been doing that have been circulating at least since March, I'll have to update this list. So far, we have only had 3 outreach events in the 1st district. We have had 9 outreach events in the 2nd district. We have had 1 outreach event in the 3rd district, and we have had 13 outreach events in the 4th district, and we have had 1 outreach event in the 5th district. So therefore, when we're looking at things that we need to do, we need to focus on the 1st district, the 3rd district, and the 5th district, and get some things going on in those districts.
Absolutely.
I will mention that I put on the agenda that there will be a citywide youth day on September the 4th from 12 to 4. It's going to be in all the city parks. I live near Meacham Park, so I am being the point person with regard to Meacham Park. So we are looking at maybe utilizing it as a opportunity to show that the CRB is kind of sponsoring that particular park, but I have to get clarification as to what that exactly means so that we can show that we have an event. What I am requesting or suggesting or asking is that since they will have a citywide youth day at every single park, if you're available at any time during the 9 to 4, the September 4th event from 12 to 4, please go to the park that's in your area and pass out materials during that particular time because it's all happening. So you're talking about it's going to be at Kirk Park. It's going to be at Skiddy Park. It is going to be at Schiller Park. It is going to be at, I think, maybe Sunnycrest. But all the parks, it's supposed to be an ideal of having everybody going all at one day for a citywide day. So I'll send you out as much information as soon as I get the flyer to show some more, but I think that it's a good opportunity for us to have tables on all sides of town at that particular day and to have our feet out there walking and working and talking. So again, September 4th, between the hours of 12 to 4, please mark your calendars, and if you can go out there for an hour or something of that nature, if you can go out there, even if you can't stay for setup, you can go for an hour at least, and walk around and, you know, make yourself known in those particular areas. That'll help out with our outreach and all the districts. Yes, I will send something out as soon as I get more information.
Can you confirm if it's going to be at Westmoreland? That's the
It is
park
going to be at Westmoreland.
Westmoreland,
Yes, Westmoreland, it's going to be that day. It's going to be at that park as well.
no, I know where Westmoreland is, I'm trying to,
Down by Aldi's. Do you know where Aldi's is on A Boulevard in
I'm sorry, where what is?
Aldi's?
Oh, yeah,
It's that park that's just before you get to Aldi's. If you come down Westmoreland Ave, it's that park that's right there on your left.
There's basketball.
oh, it's across from Aldi's,
Yes.
Kitty
across the
corner.
street from Aldi's.
It's before you get to Aldi's.
So it's on the other side of the street,
It's on the other side of Erie from
Yeah.
Aldi's.
okay.
Well, and I realize that people do work during the day. And again, I'm just putting it out there. I'm trying to give you as much time as possible to check and see if an hour fits into your schedule with regard to that day. That's why it's on the calendar early, so we have, a good 30 days worth of notice with regard to that, and see what we can do. I'm not going to be able to make it to every park. It's just not going to happen. So I'm just trying to, put it out there that I think that it's an opportunity for us to be in each area.
Do we want to have tables, or do we want to walk around handing out brochures? How do we want
It's
to
however you want to handle your park, however you want to handle your area would be fine. We have been combining the documents into one kind of, we have a list of the board meetings, we have the Know Your Rights information, and we have the brochure all together. Nice little packet. You can just hand those out. Have pocket cards. It's a youth day. We'll have tons and tons of pocket cards. In terms of outreach materials, let me mention this. The city has been graciously printing out using the print shop to print out our flyers, so our outreach materials, so we no longer print and fold them in the office anymore. They cut up the little pocket cards for us, give us back to us all cut up in a rubber band. They also print out our brochures, and they fold them and everything like that as well. We even have our regular brochures in color that come from the print shop, so we're saving time in the office from folding brochures. So we are trying to do as much as possible to alleviate that part, and you sitting at events folding brochures. So I wanted to make mention of that. So
Did you find out whether or not I can get my
tablecloth? No. I need to find out about your tablecloth.
Cliff, can you work Kirk Park on September 4th?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
I can do at least 3 parks. At least 3.
Renee, yes, you didn't see, you couldn't see.
Because I'm walking the whole city
Oh,
anyway. so-
sorry. I
I'll give you an hour at
live
each
on the
park.
east side, in the 5th Council District, but I'm
Make sure you
appointed
hang out at Kirk
in the
Park.
4th.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, I
Come
understand.
on up to Westmoreland?
Now Cynthia's from the 5th?
I'm sorry?
Yes, but Cynthia, it's on a Wednesday. So when you think about the day of the week it is, the September the 4th is during the
Yeah,
week.
I'm looking at it, it's on a Wednesday.
It's on a Wednesday. So I considered that as to which park you would like to go to. Either in the 4th district, you have Kirk Park, or you can go to the 5th district and go to Westmoreland.
Well, I could do either, whichever you think would be best.
So let's have people send their list and let me know which park you feel more comfortable. I don't want to say more comfortable because I need you to get out your comfort zone. But I'm going to say which park that you desire to work at or be at. And then we'll kind of see where it spreads, and then if we need more people at a particular area. But we've talked about walking blocks. We've talked about doing that kind of thing. It's a perfect opportunity to hit every side of town.
Are you going to have a list of what parks they're
Yes.
doing it in?
Yep, I'll have a list. I just need to finalize it, and you'll have it tomorrow, if I can finalize it tomorrow, but no later than Monday, okay?
Okay, and beyond this, I think I saw we're doing the Westcott Fair. Is there anything else, like in the next couple months, that we know of at this point?
Yep, we just talked about it, all the outreach events. We don't, in terms of September, we have the Westcott Cultural Festival, that's sometime in September, but I know we need to focus on all the ones in August, which we have a plethora of. But I just wanted
Okay.
to make sure on the September the 4th one, because I know it's a weekday, I wanted to make sure we all had enough time to coordinate as much as possible. All right? All right, and I wanted to talk
Okay.
about those.
Renee, this police relations 9 to 10, you can have that one on another weekday.
The,
The police relations? That's something that we were all sitting in that meeting and agreed to.
yep,
That's only the police.
What does that mean?
Okay, so that's something you guys
right,
do.
yep, and we'll talk about
I
that.
got no notice about that,
That you probably done on the.
and I've told you at least 4 times.
It
that I
was
on
in,
that
it was in our meeting, like, it was in an email that I sent that provided you with notice about it right after the event. We've been talking about it for 2 meetings straight.
No, I know we've been talking about it, but it hasn't been
We've been,
scheduled.
no, it has been scheduled since last
I
month.
wasn't at the last meeting.
I know, but I've been sending it out since last month. So, We have been on notice with regard to that for the last month because the meeting that we had, I believe, was in June, in which we talked about it last month's meeting, and we talked about it, and it's been in the email at least 3 times.
I'm sorry, which event are you talking about?
Police liaison.
Ruth is talking about the Police Liaison Committee meeting.
For September 12th?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so we up to board development and training?
We are. So the board development and training is going to be on August the 8th from 5:30 to 7:30 at PSB. We discussed last month all the things that we will be discussing at that meeting. And
You do realize do you realize that's a Sunday?
August the 8th?
Oh, wait a minute.
No, it's a week from today.
It's a
Oh,
week
it's,
from
okay, next Thursday.
next Thursday. Yep, so,
Need to be there for that, right?
yes, we all need to be there for that. We talked about it again last month's meeting. So it's been on the agenda since last month. With regard to the date and time as well, those were sent out after we had our meeting.
And the agenda is primarily about the new use of force policy?
The new use of force policy, and the aspects of that, he's gonna go over our prior, our prior recommendations that were in our annual reports. He's going to discuss that, and we talked about that last meeting as well as to what the breakdown was going to be, with regard to that. So, shooting at moving vehicles, I know was in there. Different things of that nature in the use of force. So all of those things, August the 8th, 5:30 to 7:30 at PSB. Come with questions that you have with regard to the policy. Everybody should have received a copy of the policy.
Can I ask some questions?
You can ask some questions. That's your opportunity to ask some questions. Write your questions down.
Absolutely.
So we're not going off the fly.
Absolutely.
And we are, so write them down first.
I look forward to hearing Cliff's questions.
I know.
Absolutely.
Does everybody
Absolutely.
know where the PSB is?
No.
Public safety building, the old jail,
Oh, the old one.
the old one.
Okay.
PSB.
The pub.
Okay.
All right.
Horrible, huh?
Well, in between the glass courthouse and the Justice Center is the building right in between that I think has the lovely Syracuse Police Department sign in front of it.
Yeah.
Right
I know
there.
that's one now.
Horse statue.
And there's a horse statue right in the middle there.
And we go in the front door?
Yeah, we go right in the
Buzz
front
you
door.
in.
We're gonna meet right in the lobby and go up as a collective group. So let's not all arrive at 5:30. Let's try to arrive at least by 5:20. And let's go there collectively with our questions, and open minds and
And our
all of-
CRB t-shirts.
Yes.
Should we wear our t-shirts?
No, she's being funny.
I'm gonna wear mine.
Panicking.
Yes, May.
No, I was going to say, when you're done, I want you to speak to those emails. I didn't have time to read all of them because I'm employed during the day.
Oh, all of the emails that I sent today? All the emails that I sent today had to do with information related to the case law that has been occurring.
Read the emails.
There was a lot of them. I just want her to give me a summary.
So it was a lot of case law that has happened that have to do with the cases that we review and give you some knowledge and background information so that when you review the materials, you can have a little bit more education in it.
So is that part of the research you do?
Yes.
That you're allowed to do now because the private investigator is doing the busy work?
That's right.
I think that's fabulous, thank you.
But I think you should identify which one I should read because there was too many cases.
Anything that said the police.
There was too many of them.
But they weren't our cases, were they?
No.
No, they're around the country, but it is case, they apply everywhere because they're coming from the states, the highest courts in the nation. So they apply and they should be utilized.
There's 4 of them right here. 1, 2, 3.
That's just in one email. I sent you.
But I like the one that you sent us. I think it was just in regards to Syracuse.
We're going to talk about that in just a few
Okay.
moments.
All right.
That was valuable.
Okay, government relations?
All right, as you can see, there was a date on here for August the 9th from 11 to 12. That date is no longer,
It's not on mine.
there was, actually, it was supposed to be tomorrow. I think that date's wrong. It was supposed to be tomorrow. We were supposed to have a meeting. Hatisha was available to come to the meeting. It was going to be Hatisha, myself, Chief Buckner, Corporation Counsel, Mark Russin. And they were going to tell us, based upon their review of the legislation, what the CRB could ask the Office of Professional Standards for based upon the legislation. So when I began to think about that type of conversation, I wanted to see if our attorney can attend, because I think that it's pertinent anytime we're reviewing the legislation and we're looking at things of that nature, that the CRB attorney be present. So the CRB attorney was not available to attend that meeting, so therefore we did not have that meeting. So we have to now reschedule that meeting to a later date. Going along with what Lori asked for the last time, that someone from the Government Relations Committee be there. That's the reason why we're looking to make sure that it works with Hatisha's schedule or something of that nature. In terms of government relations also, so the article that I sent you with regard to what occurred in Schenectady, I wanted to make mention that Corporation Counsel did call me Tuesday night to let me know what was happening. She wanted to make sure I didn't feel, or we didn't feel like we were the last ones to know. And before it hit the newspaper, she explained what that court ruling was and what the city is working on in retrospect to that. So we have to still discuss what our recommendations, where they fit in that process, because remember, according to the legislation, they're not supposed to act upon a particular case until they get our recommendations as well, so he can consider that along with his. But we need to figure out how that fits into the process, so we still need to have discussions. She's still working on certain aspects of that, and we'll get a copy of it. As soon as I get a copy of it, I'll share it with you and things of that nature. Okay, but I did want to point out that we did have some government relations in terms of the telephone call that I received.
That's good.
Letting us know what was happening.
That's progress.
Yes, that is.
Okay, so we weren't going to be the last people to know.
Yay.
But that will be rescheduled, and as soon as I know the date, with regard to that, I'll invite as many people as we can in that room to discuss that, but we will not meet without an attorney.
Absolutely.
Without our attorney in the room, especially with regard to things of that nature. Any questions with regard to
You
that?
mean the attorney we pay for?
The attorney we pay for, yes. Yes. That's the only one we got.
Who is therefore looking out for our best interests.
Yes. All right. And so let's move on to police relations. As you can see, as we've mentioned again, the Police Liaison Committee will be meeting September the 12th at...
Okay,
You were in that meeting, Dan.
I know,
Okay. All right.
we got that.
Okay, so let's just make sure we know.
What's next?
Yep, it's on the agenda, just as, again, as another reminder, so I don't want to hear anybody say they didn't know, because it's been a plethora of notice. All right, I'm done with everything I have to say. Any new business?
Community, we don't have someone here to talk about a community organization. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak?
Nope.
Charlie McCarthy.
I think that guy sitting right there.
I'll wait a reasonable time to see if anyone steps up.
Right there, that
Not,
guy.
I will accept a motion to
I
go
move.
into executive session. Dan has just moved. Somebody second?
I second.
Okay, we will, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move to executive session to discuss cases.
We going downstairs again?
You want everybody to know where we go for executive session?
Are you crazy?
Well, what's wrong with the men?
The men's room, Dan? But there's a concert going on that I would like to get to.
What concert?
I brought your stuff last time.